Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Recovery Classroom. My name is Drew. I'm an alcoholic through and through, and today, by the grace of God, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I couldn't be any more grateful. We want to welcome you to this platform, regardless of what your addiction may be. You are absolutely 1,000% unequivocally welcome here. We support your pathway, all pathways of recovery. Whatever that may look like for you, we don't care. We're just happy you're here. We're here to help. And we want to make sure that it works for you. If you're local to the Huntington, West Virginia area tonight at 7 o'clock, Pea Ridge United Methodist Church, we have our Crosstalk Tuesday. I encourage you to come on down and check out that meeting. It is unlike any meeting you've probably ever been to. So again, tonight at 7 o'clock, Pea Ridge United Methodist Church in Huntington, West Virginia. Today I want to talk about a couple things, really. I was in a conversation late last night, and I was talking with this person who has, they've gotten sober, but then they've relapsed. They've gotten sober again, and then they've relapsed again. And this person was coming to the realization that, every time they relapse, it gets more and more difficult to recover from that relapse. Every relapse makes it harder and harder for them to get back on the wagon, so to speak. And of course, I immediately thought back to my experience. But throughout the course of the conversation, I kind of, and again, this is my impression only, I kind of got the idea that they felt ashamed of the fact that they fell off the wagon, and that they're trying to get back up on that wagon again. And again, I went back to my own experiences, but I asked this person, I said, do you think that every single person working a 12-step program, do you think every single person in the program got it right the first time out of the gate? Because I can tell you right now, I didn't. It took me years coming in, getting sober, falling off the wagon, trying to come back in, get back up on that wagon again. And every time, it got more and more difficult for me to get it back up on that wagon. I can tell you firsthand. I remember. So I posed the question. Did you really think? And they're like, well, no, I guess not. And then they asked me, and this really got me thinking. They asked me, they said, what was the one thing you did to kind of flip that switch in your head? What was it you did where you were able to turn it around, and all that? Because, as they went on to say, they felt like every time they got sober, they would screw it up. Every time they got sober, they screwed it up. And again, I screwed it up many times too. I'd get sober and I'd screw something up. And so they asked me, what was the one thing I did to flip that switch, to stop screwing things up? And I thought about it, and I simply replied, I stopped worrying about the things I knew I was probably going to screw up. And I only started focusing on doing the things that I knew that I could do absolutely correct, regardless of how difficult they may be. If I knew I could do something correctly, I just focused on doing that one thing correctly. And for me, it was pretty simple. Making it to the end of my day sober. As weird as that sounds. I know I said it was simple. It wasn't at first. It got more and more easy for sure as I went on. But that was it. I knew that I could at least stay sober for 24 hours. And that kind of blended into a recurring theme that you hear a lot in the rooms, just for today. Don't worry about next week. Don't worry about next month. Just worry about today. And this person, anyway, I was telling them last night, don't worry about the things you're going to screw up, because whether we're sober or we're high or drunk, we're still going to screw things up. It doesn't matter if we're sober or high or drunk, just matters the extent of how bad we screw things up. So we're still going to screw things up. So quit worrying about the things that you're probably going to screw up. Again, this is not a perfectly smooth road of recovery. It's not always guaranteed to be a perfectly smooth road. You're going to screw some things up. I know I still screw things up, right? But I don't focus and worry about the things that I know I'm going to screw up. What I do is I focus and worry about the things that I know that I can do correctly. And that may require a little bit of effort. It may be a little tough, but I know beyond any shadow of doubt that I can at least do these things correctly. And that's what I focus on. And again, it's that recurring theme, just for today. Just for today, focus on just the things you know that you can do correctly. And for me, that's where that switch got flipped in my head. And another thing I want to point out, this person was telling me that they were afraid that of if they quit, they were afraid of the sickness and getting sick and all that. And I want to be very clear about this before I say anything else. I want to be very clear. Definitely consult with your medical professional, your doctor. About quitting for sure. Ask them, get their opinion, their guidance, and always follow their advice. But for me, when I was posed this question, or they mentioned about getting sick, I started thinking back to me whenever I came off my alcoholism. I got done with the bottle, and I had cold sweats, tremors, shakes, elevated heart rate. My blood pressure was sky high. I got sick. Now I didn't have the nausea or anything like that. At least not that I remember. I might have, but I responded to this person. I said, that's what our addiction does, is it convinces us the opposite. Our addiction says, hey, if you stop drinking or if you stop drugging, you're going to be, getting sick. You're going to be nauseous. You're going to be running a fever. You're going to have all these symptoms, these withdrawal symptoms. And so you don't want to quit. See, our addiction is telling us this, but what it's not telling us is if we stay in our active addiction, we're going to get sicker. We're going to get sicker. Okay. And what I mean by that is it's the difference between what's known as acute symptoms and chronic symptoms. If I kept drinking over the years that I did drink, I was developing all these chronic symptoms, these symptoms that were occurring over a long period of time. And my addiction had convinced me, had blinded that part, but it convinced me if I stop drinking, I'm going to be sick, I'm going to be throwing up, I'm going to be nauseous, I'm going to be, whatever. I'm going to have all these immediate acute symptoms, these immediate symptoms that are going to be unpleasant. What my addiction wasn't telling me is if I keep in an active addiction, I'm going to have worse symptoms. I'm going to be doing more damage over a longer period of time. That damage that I'm doing is going to be a lot harder to recover from chronic symptoms as opposed to these immediate acute symptoms. And see, our addiction does a great job of convincing us the opposite is true. You may get sick. And again, I want to clarify, make sure you work with your medical professional before attempting any type of cessation from your addiction. Make sure you get their input. But I would rather go through a little bit of sickness today, maybe even tomorrow, rather than having to deal with all the complications that I've created for myself over years and years of drinking. The longer I'm in my addiction, the more difficult it's going to be for me to get out of my addiction. The longer I'm in my addiction, the more difficult it's going to be for me to overcome those acute symptoms, those immediate symptoms. And so I want to assure you today, you may be drinking, you may be drugging. Again, I encourage you consult with your medical professional before attempting any type of cessation of your addiction. Definitely consult with them. But I want to point this out. The longer you remain in active addiction, the more damage and the more long-term damage you're doing to your body. This is where you work with your medical professional and say, okay, look, I want to stop. I'm going to stop. I'm going to flip that switch in my head. I'm going to have acute withdrawal symptoms. What can I do to help with that? And that's where you seek the medical advice of your doctor. So with that being said, I want to remind you, all of this wrapped up together for you, there is hope. Regardless of what your addiction may be, there is hope. You can recover. I know a slew of people who are proof positive that you can recover no matter how far down the scale you may have gone. So with that being said, I'll let you guys go. I hope you guys have an absolute kick-ass Tuesday. Thank you guys for letting me come in and share 5 to 10 minutes of your day with you. You guys absolutely keep me sober, and I could not be any more appreciative. So thank you, and I know my family appreciates it too. If you have a topic you'd like to hear discussed, feel free to reach out to me at Drew, Drew, at recoveryclassroom.org, and I'll take a look at it and see what we can get done for you. So in the meantime, again, tonight, 7 o'clock, Pea Ridge United Methodist Church. If you're local to Huntington, West Virginia area, we got the Crosstalk Tuesday. We'll be talking again soon, guys. Remember, you can't get drunk if you don't take that first drink.